Hello. How are we doing today? My name's Keith. I'm your meditation teacher here on this channel, Meditation Breaks. Welcome if you're here for the first time. If you're coming back, welcome back. Each week on this channel, we learn about meditation. And we approach learning about meditation this channel is almost like a cookbook. I like to think of it as that. Meaning there's a lot of different ways we can meditate. There's a lot of different reasons people get into meditation. There's a lot of different styles and thought processes on it. And not everyone, connects with every recipe in the cookbook. But in this cookbook of meditation, there will be things that you do gravitate to. And over time, we can start taking one recipe and turning it into 2 and 3, etc. Oh, hey, Mom. Okay, so that's just to say that here on this channel, I do topical, like thematic-based meditation sessions. If you're like, cool, love me a theme, but hey, I have never meditated before, and so I don't know the first thing about it. Do not worry. Every week I start with an introduction to meditation. So that's how we'll start this week. We'll talk about what meditation is, why does it work, how do you do it, should you bother, do you have time for this? Like all those questions that you are probably thinking about, here and there if you're new to meditation. We're going to have a quick discussion about them, and then we're going to do a small meditation together. It will be short, probably about 5 minutes or so. So you don't have to worry, you're not going to be sitting there in silence for forever. That's how we'll start, and then we'll talk about our topic for today. Our topic for today is exploring the idea of change in our lives and how we can start to identify as somebody who handles that well and even embraces that in certain cases. And then we'll do a meditation on that to close out our time together tonight. All right. So, if you have any questions or comments or thoughts or whatever at any time during the live stream, you can feel free to use the chat feature. You don't have to wait for me to say, hey, does anyone have any questions? It's question time, always here. If you do not feel comfortable using the chat feature, or you're like me and constantly forget what you're going to say, and then you think of it later, I'm going to give my email I'll give my email to everyone towards the end of today's session, and you can email me any questions that you have, either about today's session or meditating on your own, or just to say hi. The choice is yours. All right, so we're going to get started, and each week I like to get started by putting forth this question, and it's a big one. What is meditation? What is it? We all kind of know. We all have an idea, an image in our mind of what meditation is. And if you don't, if you Google meditation, well, there's only one type of image that comes up, and that is just endless pages of scrolling through endless images of people sitting on the floor cross-legged with their eyes closed. Maybe their arms are like this. They look quite serene and calm. And this is how we collectively generally think of meditation. It's an emoji. Crying out loud. I mean, like, once something becomes an emoji, like, of course we're going to identify with that. So that is how we assume meditation is meant to happen. Meditation equals sitting on the floor cross-legged with our eyes closed, etc., focusing on our breath or whatnot. This is a way to meditate. You can meditate sitting on the floor, cross-legged, etc. But that is not meditation in the essence, at least in my opinion, right? That is a seating position. Meditation is something that's transcends seating position. And thankfully so, because I don't know about you, but as the older I get, the less appealing sitting on the floor is for my back and whatnot. So if that specific image of meditating is not meditation, but rather just a way you can meditate, what is meditation? On this channel, I like to put forth the definition that meditation is a technique you can use to become really familiar with something. Familiarity is pretty much synonymous with meditation, right? When we are meditating, we are essentially becoming really familiar with something through concentration. And you might be like, well, what's so the big deal about being familiar with something? Well, if we look at how familiarity plays a role in our life, we can start to see that it really does permeate almost everything we do and know and feel, right? And gravitate towards. So if we think about something that you're really familiar with, like brushing your teeth, right? I don't know everyone's dental hygiene habits, but I'm fairly certain that the vast majority of you here not only know how to brush your teeth, but are so good at it that you don't have to think about it when you're doing it. As evident by brushing your teeth being like one of the main times our mind is just like wandering, right? Because we understand the technique, right? Now, when you were a kiddo and mom and dad or whatever are like, hey, time to brush your teeth. You're like, what's that? And then they hand you this stick, and this stick has the bristles on it, right? And then they put this goopy thing on the bristles, and you're looking at this like, whoa, what's the deal with this whole thing? And then they go, okay, now you go like this. And then you go like this with a toothbrush, and toothpaste gets all over your face. Right? It's literally how every child starts. I mean, maybe there is a savant child that just instantly was incredible brushing your teeth, but I've yet to see it. So this is an example of something that now, through nothing more than practice, repetition, let's say you're good dental hygiene twice a day, for X number of years, that's a lot of practice. So much so that it's kind of like second nature to us. But when we were a kid, it was not that way, right? And the link here is this idea of familiarity. The more familiar you are with something, the more second nature it becomes, the more readily it shows up, the less concentration it takes, the less effort, energy, all those things, right? That is the output of familiarity. And that output is the same no matter what the thing you're becoming familiar with is. So, hey, Cynthia, Lucia, Wanda, and Patricia. Hi. Sorry, I had to catch up. So, this concept of familiarity is a huge part of our life. Right? And when we think about it, we can recognize that. But it's everywhere. When we're here talking about meditation, we're very much focused on mental familiarity, right? But mental familiarity and physical familiarity, they have the same output, right? If you're like learning how to run a marathon, never ran before, it's gonna be a little hard, but you'll get there. Your muscles will become adjusted. They become familiar with what they need to do in order to run this length of race. Right? This is meditation. When we are meditating, we are starting to choose what we want our mind to be familiar with for the purpose of that thing showing up like second nature in our life. Right? Now, good news, bad news, it works both for and against us. If you think about something like getting frustrated, we don't have to try really hard to get frustrated, right? We're having a great day. Everything's wonderful. Somebody says something like, oh, man, that's frustrating. We don't really say that, but whatever. We don't ever be like, you know what? Hey, pal, I am in such a good mood that I know I have to get frustrated right now, but I just can't. I need a little time. We don't say that, right? Because our mind has had a lot of practice getting annoyed at stuff. Now, patience, on the other hand, which is kind of the antithesis to frustration, we often do have to create some space, take some time, right? Intervene a little bit with ourselves before that kind of sense of patience starts to take form, right? It requires more effort for us, not because we're worse at it, simply because our mind does what our mind is used to. And if your mind is more familiar with getting frustrated than being patient, then it's going to translate into getting frustrated showing up more regularly than being patient. It doesn't sound that like revolutionary because it's not. It's like it makes sense, right? It's just that we don't really think of mental habits in that way, right? So this is what we're doing here. We are starting to make choices about what we want to familiarize our mind with for the purpose of that thing showing up with less effort. So let's take the thing that most people get into meditation for, relaxation. When people start meditating, maybe they feel more relaxed, more peaceful, and that's wonderful. And they may start to think, hey, meditation relaxes me. Meditation equals peacefulness. But this is not actually what's happening. Meditation does not relax you. Meditation does not create peacefulness. What it does, it's a technique of teaching you how to become extremely familiar with relaxed you. Each one of us has a version of us in there that is relaxed. It comes out from time to time. We probably want it to come out more often. Maybe it comes out more often than we give it credit for. But this version of us exists already. It's not something that has to be created or found or anything like that. It's there. Meditation is just a conduit to help you become so familiar with that version of yourself that you want to be, in this case, being relaxed, that what happens? The exact same thing as brushing your teeth. It starts to become second nature. Relaxed you starts to become your default, right? It's a slow burn. It takes time, but it's the same concept as any sort of familiarity or learning that we do. So this is pretty cool and empowering when we think about it, because that means we can be the type of person we want to be, right? There's nothing standing in our way except some practice and time and thought. That is our human gift. Pretty cool. So that's all well and good, but how the heck do we do this thing, meditation? Well, when you first start learning how to meditate, almost always you start with breathing meditation. And that's what we are going to do together in a few moments. Breathing meditation, and all meditation, is more formally kind of known as a single-pointed concentration. We're focusing on one thing and one thing only. This is not something that we are very familiar doing. In our modern society, we are highly encouraged to multitask as much as possible, do more, be, productivity, right? And some of that is like societal pressure to do so, and other is just sometimes left to our own devices. That's what our mind does, because our mind is pretty powerful. It can think about a lot of stuff, and so it does. And so that becomes our default. Multitasking is great for getting worldly tasks done, not the best for being super relaxed. There is a huge benefit towards focusing on one thing, and you have seen that benefit. You are all expert meditators already. If you've ever been in the zone, working on something, or like sometimes it's called flow state, or it's like a fun word, a fun phrase for it. What happens? Yeah, you're working diligently, you lose track of time, your knee stops hurting, all those things that are normally pulling your attention, it's as if they've faded a bit. This is a meditative-like experience. What we're doing here is teaching ourselves that we can do this when we want, right? So what we're going to do is a little breathing meditation here together. And this breathing meditation is going to be 3 steps. Step 1 is we are going to choose to focus single-pointedly on our own breath. I know that sounds unnecessary because you're here. You have already chosen to do this thing with me. But it's good habit to start to set intentions before we meditate, so that when our mind starts to think about other stuff, we have a focal point to get back to. We know what our goal is. We know what we're here to do. Right? It's like a little compass or whatever if we're on a hike. So we're going to start with setting that intention. Then we're going to actively focus single-pointedly on our own breath. I'll be guiding, won't be on your own or whatnot, so don't worry about that. Whenever you notice that your attention is no longer single-pointedly on your own breath, and I do mean like any level of that. Oh, I have an itch. Or, oh my gosh, I've been thinking about snacks for 5 minutes. Whenever that happens, whenever you notice that, we're just going to say, not right now, to those thoughts. That's our little saying here, not right now. Those thoughts are not bad. They're not unwanted. They're not intrusive. They are just thoughts. Just not now. And then the third step, after we recognize that our attention has drifted, is to bring our attention back to our breath. And we do this as a little loop over and over. And over time, we start to settle in. We start to single-pointedly focus on our breath for longer and longer. And what happens? All those other things clamoring for our attention, they fade away. They seem to fade away, and we feel relaxed. So that's what we're going to do right now. You may notice that I am not sitting on the floor. I am in a relatively comfortable chair. You can be in any type of seat that you would like, or non-seat. It doesn't really matter. If you would like to lay down, go right ahead. You had a long day? Go for it. Got a hammock? Ooh, wish I did. I don't know. You can even stand up if that's your thing. It doesn't matter. Just get relatively comfortable. And by that, I mean, don't start this in the most uncomfortable position that you are in, because then that's going to really take up a lot of your attention. And you can go ahead and close your eyes, and I'm going to guide us through about a 5-minute breathing meditation. Okay. Whenever we start a meditation, it's good to take a moment and check in. Ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? It's not an analysis of today, just now, in this exact moment. What is your mind up to? Maybe you're feeling a bit tired. Maybe you're feeling energetic. Happy, sad, whatever it is perfect. We are not trying to change anything here. There is nothing to change. All we're doing is noticing. This is a technique known as mindfulness, a word you have likely heard. Mindfulness is an active awareness of your own thoughts, your own mind, for the purpose of being able to respond in a skillful manner to those thoughts. So, what's your mind up to right now? Having checked in, we can now set an intention and a promise made to ourselves. And that promise, that intention, is to focus single pointedly on our own breath to the best of our ability for the next couple of minutes. Let that promise, that goal, that wish sit in your mind. For the next few minutes, this is your only task. All the other things can wait. Just you and your breath. And a promise to try. With that intention set and firmly in your mind, you can act on it. Turn your full, undivided attention to your own breath, following it in and out, very gently and very naturally. You do not need to change how you normally breathe. Whatever comes naturally to you, that's what I want you to do. In and out, gently and naturally. At some point, often rather quickly, you may catch a glimpse of your mind drifting, starting to think about something other than just breathing in and breathing out. Maybe you're thinking about something that happened earlier today, or perhaps something you have to do later after this class ends. Whenever you notice that your attention has drifted in this manner, we can just gently say, not right now, to those thoughts. We will get to them later. Actually imagine yourself picking up those thoughts, placing them beside you. And with those thoughts placed beside you, waiting patiently, you can turn your full attention back to your own breath, breathing in and out, gently and naturally. Single pointedly focused on each moment of each breath you take. We breathe countless times each day, and of those countless times, few, if any, are we 100% single pointedly focused on breathing. What if we did, though? What might we notice about this process that is often in the background? Every time you breathe in, can you imagine, watch that air being gently pulled from the atmosphere towards you? Watch it being pulled into your body. Can you feel it moving through your body into your lungs, your chest expanding to make room, your shoulders rising as the air fills you with energy? All that is breathing in. How wonderful. And what about when you exhale, when you breathe out? Can you feel your shoulders fall? Your chest contract? Can you watch as that air moves back through you? Observe as it leaves your body and begins to mix back in with all the other pockets of air in the atmosphere, dissipating before your very eyes. This is breathing out. How wonderful. Our breath is so often background noise to our day. And yet, if we want to, we can focus on it single pointedly to the point where this process that is background is no longer that, and we find some truly subtle joys in something as simple as breathing. I wonder where else in your day subtle joys are hiding. Breathing in, breathing out, very gently and very naturally. Keep bringing your attention back to your own breath as many times as you need to. This process of choosing to focus single pointedly on your own breath, noticing when your attention has drifted from that, and then bringing your attention back. That's meditation. You are meditating right now. You are a meditator. You're training your mind to focus on what you want to focus on. And right now, the only thing that you want to focus on is breathing in and breathing out gently, naturally. For the last few moments, just enjoy sitting here with your breath. And take a little time for you. You deserve it. Okay. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. Welcome back. My eyes adjust. Congrats. You did it. That's meditation. 3 steps, like we talked about, doesn't mean that it's, the most simple thing ever. And if you kind of were surprised by how busy your mind is and how much it drifts, right? Welcome to the club, population, all of us, because we normally don't think about the busyness in our mind. And so when we start meditating, we start to purposely focus on one thing, it can almost feel like our mind is busier, but really you're just noticing what your mind is like all day, which is exhausting to think about. No wonder you are mentally wiped out by the end of the day. So this practice of breathing meditation is it's the same steps that you would use to meditate on anything. So when we meditate, we're meditating using an object, they call it, like an object of our meditation. It doesn't need to be an actual object, right? In this case, the object of our meditation was our breath. That's our focal point. The object of your meditation can be anything you want. It can be brushing your teeth, right? It can be listening to music. It can be anything. Right? As long as you're actively choosing to focus on that thing single pointedly, noticing when you're no longer doing so and bring your attention back, that, my friends, is meditation. And so we can start to get creative in our day about what we are turning into a meditative practice, even if we don't have the time or interest in more formally sitting down with our eyes closed, etc. Cool? Okay. So that's breathing meditation. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to move on to our topic for today, which is not too long at all. It's something I've been thinking. I was thinking about today, actually, and I thought it'd be cool to talk about. And it does echo some of the things, some of the topics that we cover here often, right? So the topic for today is this idea of embracing unexpected changes, and more than like just like they say, oh, have grit or what, like not that really, but more this recognition that we are able to weather change, right? And I think this is a really important kind of perspective shift on how I normally teach this class. So normally I teach this class about impermanence and how recognizing, the impermanence of things can make us appreciate them more. And that's amazing and true and wonderful and has great benefits. But I was finding this particular week, I was feeling a little down on myself about my notion, the story I have crafted for myself, that I do not deal with change well, right? It's not something that I deal with well. And that, Yeah, I try to choose my words very carefully there. This like notion, this story that I've told about myself, because it really is that, this is just talk about familiarity and the role it plays in our life. For so long, I have built this habit of thinking about myself as someone who doesn't really deal with change well. And so now that feels like a core characteristic of me, like a character trait. But I wasn't born in that way, it was learned. So you might be saying, hey, me too, because this is something I think that is extremely ubiquitous among us human beings. On this channel, we talk about a lot of different topics, and a lot of people are here for different reasons, different experiences. This kind of having changes happen in your life is something 100% we all experience. It's not possible to not change, as we'll get into, right? And there seems to be a kind of almost aversion to it, right? Some more so than others, but I think deep down we know that change is necessary and can be difficult. And so we gravitate as a protection mechanism to try to avoid those things, right? And we, so same here, especially when it comes to legal and paperwork that I cannot control. Oh, just speaking to me. So the kind of result of this is what? We create routines, habits, and these are not bad. Routines are really good. We're talking about becoming familiar with something, and that is essentially your routine, right? Tradition is also kind of in a way, an aversion to change, right? Things that were commonplace then, not commonplace now, and we're trying to bring it back, right? These things, routines, habits, these are not bad. They're wonderful. It's more of recognizing that these two kind of pieces of us can live together. And more than that, change, uncertainty, unexpected things is the nature of life. It is really difficult to avoid those things because that is not the nature of things, right? And the idea of impermanence, which is a topic that we talk about a lot here, it's a very deep topic. I could spend, a whole week of classes teaching it, and I think it's really important to talk about now, but I'm going to do a little lightweight version. Impermanence is exactly what it sounds like, not permanent. The recognition that things or something or feeling or relationship or person is not forever, in the sense that the way it is right now is not how it will be at some point in the future. We may not know how long it takes to get there, but we know that change is inevitable. I mean, I like that, but we know it, right? The way this thing is now is not how it will be later, right? And so in a way, impermanence is change. There are two different words that mean the exact same thing. I get the Jack comparison quite a lot. Hey, I'll take it. He's great. Impermanence, not forever, saying things will change. It's kind of in the nature of things to change. Right? This is true for objects, feelings, people, right? Life, our life, impermanent. All things have a level of impermanence to them. And we know this at an intellectual level. We know this. If I was like, hey, is the the sun's in the sky, is it always going to be like that? You're like, no, it'll go down. Right? We know it intellectually, but we don't think about it kind of as a ubiquitous law of nature or something, right? And so we feel like this thing that is all around us, that we have been connecting with constantly, is something we're not good at recognizing, something that we're not good at handling, which is really interesting because we are. We're experts at dealing with change. And so impermanence at the macro level is pretty easy to identify, right? For example, you are eating a bowl of ice cream. It's your favorite flavor, whatever that is. Mine would be Haagen-Dazs coffee ice cream. I'm obsessed. You're eating this bowl of ice cream. You scoop out a bunch, right? You got it in your bowl. You put it back in the freezer. You're sitting down on like a little comfy couch. And hold on, Lucia. Change is like waves crashing on the shore. Impermanence is the ocean itself, which ensures waves will always rise and fall. My God, that's beautiful. Gorgeous. I love that. Writing that one down. Amazing. Great analogy. Great visual. So maybe we'll use that in our meditation. So ice cream. to totally detract from your beautiful comment, you are eating ice cream. And, as we're eating this ice cream, it's changing. And you know that, right? Like here are the things that could happen when you have a bowl of ice cream. One, you eat it all, and then it's gone. So it's not as it was. It was in your bowl as ice cream, and now it is in your body as whatever. Two, it melts. You get distracted, and you're like, I don't know, doing something else, and you come back, you're like, my ice cream. It doesn't look like it. It used to have this gorgeous dome-like structure, and now it's just soup. Right? Change. So we know ice cream is impermanent. We don't know how it will change necessarily, but we know that it will, whether or not we want it to or not, right? So that's an example of something that I would call like macro impermanence. But that concept of impermanence goes even more subtle than at that level. So let's say you're eating ice cream. You got your favorite bowl, favorite flavor. You're like, I'm not going to get distracted this time. And you sit down on the couch and time stops, right? Time freezes. In this moment, that ice cream exists in a certain way. Now, I'm going to unfreeze time for a split second and then freeze it again. That ice cream has changed. The ice cream that was there a split second ago is no longer there in the same way that it was in that moment. It may not appear at a macro level like it has changed. It didn't melt in a split second. But I'm not a scientist or whatever, but like the components that make up ice cream, the molecules, like they are shifting, they are moving, they are aging, there's change there. Now I'm going to unfreeze time for another split second. the ice cream is completely changed. This is called subtle impermanence. And we're talking about ice cream, and that might seem ridiculous, but this idea is true for us too, our life. Moment to moment, we are changing. The person I am now is different than the person I am now, and now, and now, and now, and now. Things are changing. I'm aging. My cells have been moving. It'll never, like this moment, boom, is gone in its exact form. Every second of your life, you are handily dealing with change. It is not possible to not do so. You are an expert in the concept of change, whether we recognize it or not. And so this is something that I try to remind myself when I'm feeling like I don't deal well with change, right? Because that's the macro story that I have crafted for myself. But if I start to look at my life, both at like its macro impermanence level and even like the subtly, well, I've had a lot of practice dealing with change, right? I'm pretty good at it. And so are you. So are we all. So say we all. Battlestar Galactica fans out there. So this, Lucia, I'm glad you brought that up, right? This is all I want you to take away from this is, oh, that's an interesting way of thinking about things, about us, about time, about anything, right? Because when we start to view things through the lens of a subtle impermanence, there's less dwelling on the past. Because change is natural. It's happening. I have changed so many times over the course of this live stream. I can't even keep track of it. That's pretty cool. Every moment is a fresh chance for us, right? And that's all made possible by change. This thing that we try to avoid, it is a beautiful thing. Anyway, so that is what I've been thinking about this week. So hopefully you found that to be interesting. I'd love to do just a short meditation that incorporates some of these things. It will be similar to what we did originally. Asa, thank you. I'm glad it connected with you. It'll be similar to what we did originally, but we're going to do breathing meditation through the lens of subtle impermanence. Okay. Go ahead and close your eyes and get relaxed again. And take a moment and check in with yourself. How are you feeling right now? What about now? What about now? This right here is our first window into subtle impermanence. The way we are feeling now is not the way we will feel forever. And so we can just exist in this moment, however we are. And not worry about changing it, because change will happen. We're just observing. Having checked in, we can now make a promise to ourselves, set an intention, and that intention is to focus single pointedly on each breath for each moment. This is another window into impermanence. A single breath lasts a few seconds at most. And then a new breath. And a new one after that. Change. With that intention firmly in your mind, we can act on it. Turn your undivided attention to your own breath, breathing in and out gently, naturally. Often, when we're trying to meditate and we find our mind wandering, we get frustrated with ourselves. By understanding subtle impermanence, we can use that idea to help foster a non judgmental view of our mind. So your mind got distracted. Guess what? That version of you, that version of your mind, it is gone. Born anew. Change. And with change comes a fresh start. And so we can guide our attention back to breathing. Your mind getting distracted is natural. Change is natural. In and out, gently, naturally. As you're single pointedly focusing on your breath, some things, some subtleties about breathing may start to surface. These things have always been there, waiting to be discovered by you. Maybe you're noticing how the temperature of the air changes as you breathe in and out. When you breathe in through your nose, can you feel the air, the coolness of it on the tip of your nostrils? It gets cooler the more you breathe in. That air is changing. The temperature it was is no longer the temperature that it is. That air never stopped changing. And what about when you breathe outward? That air is a bit warmer, isn't it? It has changed again. This time drastically. No longer a gradient of coolness, and now it's warm. Being sent back out into the atmosphere. Change, impermanence is everywhere, in everything, in everyone, in every thought. You are an expert in change, in handling it, recognizing it. Congratulate yourself on doing so. And then for the last few moments, just enjoy being here for every single split moment. Okay. Whenever you are ready, you can open your eyes. Hello. Welcome back. We are all completely changed from when we started our meditation. Seriously. So that was essentially the same thing we did in the beginning, but we layered on some of the things that we talked about today. And the meditation essentially the same. We're just focusing on our breath and bringing our attention back when we, find we're distracted. But like, you can see how that one thing, when we start to layer on some other thoughts to it, can have a completely different output. I was kind of vibing with different things this time around. Maybe you were too. Cool. So that's all for today. Hopefully you had a good time. If you did, great. I normally stream every week, but for the next 2 weeks, I will not be in my town. I will not have access to my streaming capabilities. So the next 2 weeks, I will not be doing a class, but after that, I will. So you get a little 2-week break from me. Whether that's a good thing or not is up to you. Don't tell me. Rosa, I'm glad that you enjoyed the class. Yeah, it's a really cool topic. And personally for me, as somebody who identifies as not being good with change, like this is something that does help me. It's helpful to realize that I've done this before a lot. Right? Cool. So won't be here for the next 2 weeks. Going to give everyone my email. It's keith@meditationbreaks.com. I'll say it one more time, not strange. Keith@meditationbreaks.com. That was as normal as I could do it. Let me see if I spelled it correctly. I did. Great. That's my email. If you have any questions about meditation in general, something we talked about today, something that comes up on your own, feel free to email me. Just want to say hi. You can also do that. And if you are like, you know what, this was really cool. I really liked meditating with Keith. I offer private private instruction, which is really good for focusing on things that you want to get out of meditation. We're all here for different reasons. Here, as in wanting to learn meditation, and the one-on-one classes are really good for honing in on the specific things that are of interest to you. If that is of interest to you, you just email me and we'll find a time to do it. I do everything. I do it all virtually. It's very laid back. So if that's interesting to you, you can just reach out and we'll figure something out. All right. Aso, thank you. You're the best. Thank you, everyone. I really do appreciate each and every one of you so much. I love teaching and couldn't do that without taking time out of your day each week to be here. It means a lot to me. I mean, we've been doing this for like almost 5 years. Has it been 5 years? We've been doing this for over 5 years. Some of you have been here from the beginning. You're amazing. So thank you. I appreciate it. And I hope you all have a wonderful 2 weeks, and I'll see you when I get back. All right. Take care.